And it finally got me down to the point that I had to realize, the example I always use is like entrepreneurship versus corporate is like checkers versus chess. The game board looks the same. You truly play checkers and chess on the same game board. The rules are completely different. And so I had to learn really fast that once I had that breakthrough, I had to give myself permission to learn how to play the game of entrepreneurship. But everything you learn in corporate becomes your competitive edge. So that was like a big thing because I tried to grow a business and start a business and would fall flat on my face. And the other piece of this is corporate, the world I came from, prides you in being the world's best generalist. When I was at Deloitte, they wanted you to be great at everything. Entrepreneurship does not celebrate being the best generalist. They want you to be known for something.
Welcome to They're Not Like Us, the podcast where bold ideas and inspiring stories come to life. I'm your host, Aaron, here to challenge the norms and ignite your potential. If you're ready to level up, don't forget to subscribe and join the movement. Now, let's dive in. Hello, welcome back to They're Not Like Us. I'm your host, Aaron, and today I'm joined by Mark Stern. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thrilled to be here, Aaron. So thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. Could you tell people a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah. So I'm Mark. I am in Austin, Texas. I run a business called Custom Box Agency. And what we focus on is helping businesses optimize their customer journeys. And we do so by creating these physical experiences that just take that digital experience to the next level. And in my personal time, I'm a proud father of my little Welsh corgi, for a little critter that I have. And I love to do Spartan races. So I like getting muddy in the mud and doing the obstacle course races. So that's just a little bit about me, but love the outdoors and love Texas.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a lovely place to live in it, Texas. I've never been, but I've heard a lot about it.
We're big. It's a big state.
Yeah.
But every corner is so different.
Yeah, man. I'll have to go one day. I'll have to give it a whirl. We were talking off camera just about the big 4-0 that's coming up for me. And you mentioned that you're doing all these Spartan races. How are you finding doing that now, especially if as you get older? Because they're a bit of a challenge, right?
Yeah. So I'll tell you the story of how that all started too, just because it was never like something I thought I'd ever do. And it's inspired so much of my life. But when I turned 30, which is crazy that it was a decade ago, I set a goal to do a 5K a month for 12 months straight. So January to December. And I wanted the medal at the end of the journey. And part of the reason that I did that is when I was a kid, when I was born, my feet toed in pretty badly. And so I grew up in Alabama. I had braces on my legs to try and get my feet to like grow right. And I remember just traveling all throughout the state and the surrounding states, going to doctors who just watched how I walked. And as a kid, I tried to play sports, but every time I'd play sports, I'd trip over my feet and just accepted this idea that, I'm not a runner. I'm not an athlete. This just wasn't in the cards for me. And so, with Spartan races, the way that came about was I started this journey when I turned 30 to do a 5K every month. And after 4 months, got bored and was like, I can do this. I'm actually doing 5K as well, and signed up for a Spartan race because I saw a Groupon. I don't know if y'all have Groupon on your side of the pond. I remember that was like the thing was Groupon, and everyone was looking at Groupons, but there was a Groupon for a Spartan race, and I signed up for it. It was the last week of May. And I think it was 2015. And I remember thinking this is going to be fun. And then as we got closer to it, thinking, have I lost my mind? Like, what is this thing I signed up for? And almost talked myself out of not doing it. But finally was like, I have to do this because it's the last week in May. And I have this goal. Got to the race, started the race, and was giggling the whole time. It was such a blast. And so it was a 5K. It was the Spartan Sprint. And I completed the race, and they give you a medal. And I think I have one over here. Yeah, you can see an example that when you finish a race, they give you a medal, and then they give you a third of a medal. And they said, okay, it's time for you to go for your trifecta, which means to get the other wedges. You had to do a 8 to 10 miler and a half marathon. I actually see it right here. This was it right here. And in doing so, you get the full trifecta. Brilliant model. But that's kind of where this all started. Was I didn't hold a belief that I would ever do a half marathon mud run, but they built the systems and the machine that made me say, when I had 2 of the 3 wedges, if I have to drag my body across the finish line, I'm getting that last piece. And that's kind of where it all started. And the other part of this, I'll let you know, is turning 40. I did this every year until up to COVID. And when COVID happened, like we were all in quarantine at home. And um, I just like did not take care of myself and got up to 250 pounds, which is not where someone of my height should be. And I'm 5'11". And it was the turning of 40 that made me wake up and go, okay, I got to change. Something's got to change because I read an article that said the average person in the US lives to 78. So like 39 is truly that midpoint of life. And I just had this fear of what's the second half of my life going to be like if I don't take action. And that's when I really started to prioritize health and self. And as part of that journey, got back into Spartan races. And the second you have it on the books, like you move your body to prepare for it. And so now that's just become a tradition that every year I'll go through and do the 3 races to get my trifecta. And I've gotten 6. So this year I will be getting my 7th trifecta.
I like that.
Yeah.
It is important, right, to have something to kind of aim for, to train for. Kind of pushes you to do that bit more. I've found that out. I used to lift weight, so lift like heavy weight and try and like beat my own PRs essentially. So that used to drive me forward. But with the state of my back now, because I've done 2 discs in my back and stuff, I can't particularly keep lifting heavy. So I've been looking for something to kind of have something to train for, because I still go to the gym, I still train, I still keep myself fit, but it's different when you're preparing for something versus when you're just kind of going through the motions.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
I've never done a Spartan, but is it very similar to the Tough Mudders, where they have like electric shock obstacles and stuff like that?
So either way, I think during COVID, Spartan now owns Tough Mudder. Very similar in the fact that there's lots of mud and there's obstacles. Very different in that like Tough Mudder's obstacles for me were like goofy, like the getting electrocuted and I don't know, like there were so many
There's ice water and stuff. It's like gimmicky, isn't it?
Gimmicky. Oh, 100%. Whereas Spartan, I would say, is a little bit more strength-based obstacles, like climbing ropes, pulling things, pushing things, throwing things. But it's a little bit more like they're determined to turn it into an Olympic sport. But both are amazing. I don't want to get electrocuted, so but when I did Tough Mudders, like again, I was like giggling the whole time just because the obstacles were so silly. But just very different in terms of the mindset and how they approach the races.
Yeah, I've never trained either. To be fair, I've done like half marathons and stuff, but like in the traditional ones. But maybe it's something I'll give a go and see what it's like.
That's a boss. If you're in the States and you do it out here, let me know and I'll meet you up there. I've done over 20 to date, so and growing.
That's
but
good going. That, to be fair,
never thought I would be doing them ever in my life. It was never a vision. It literally was, this is what got me hooked, because if you think of it through the lens of a business, I just wanted to do the race because it was a goal I set. For them, they engineered something that increases lifetime value by gamifying, the experience, which is so brilliant.
Yeah, that's to be fair, that's incredible marketing, really, to give you that, because who wants just that 1/3, right?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, when you have 2 of the 3, like I never held the identity of, I can do a half. I mean, as a kid, I didn't do anything because my legs. So to do that, like getting that last wedge, I broke down because like it was like shattering the belief, and you could see the transformation I had gone through back in 2015.
Yeah, and I think if you've done all 3 as well, you're much more likely to continue then at that point, aren't you?
Oh yeah. If someone can show you something about yourself that you didn't know, I feel like you have a fan for life.
Yeah, it's very clever for them. But do you kind of employ anything similar in your business? Any kind of gamification or kind of, ways to kind of keep people coming back, really, I suppose?
100%. So, with our business, and you can see all these boxes are products that we created in my business, but we tell clients when we're really focused on customer journey, and what I don't want you to think is swag box. We joke and say swag. When people think of a swag box, swag means stuff without a goal. Stop sending people stuff, actually creating an experience and giving them what they need. And so in order to do that, we need to get into what it is you're doing in terms of how you show up and serve your clients, your customers, even if it's internal for employees. And so when we design it, the first question that we look at is, if the customer life cycle is you acquire a customer and then you deliver the products, the promise as to what they bought, and then you want to retain them, those are three very different strategies. So when we work with the clients, we're like, is this campaign an acquisition campaign to get you clients or employees? Is it a delivery campaign? How do we do the onboarding process and show them the pathway to get results faster? Or is this retention? Is it awards? Is it, we'll introduce box 1 of 4, but to get box 2 of 4, 3 of 4, and 4 of 4, similar to this structure, you have to keep engaged in hitting the milestones that is laid out by the business. So how we engineer these experiences, there's so many different ways to infuse the gamification, but I'm so set on stop making it so hard for your customers to get results. Give them what they need. And, there is complexity with physical, but for us, it's like eating candy. We have so much fun bringing these experiences to life.
Yeah, and I think kind of customers, they can often forget what you say to them or whatever, but the way you make them feel is important, right? Because they'll remember that.
And the other piece of this is I don't think business owners do a good job defining what success looks like for their customers. And so, like, Spartan did a great job. This is success. They defined success for me. If you're familiar with some people are familiar with the ClickFunnels realm, Russell Brunson, they have an award called the 2 Comma Club Award. If you make $1 million with your sales funnel, you get this award. Well, they define success in their game. How do they extend lifetime value? Well, once you hit it, they say you made $1 million using a funnel. Now make 10. Now the next milestone is 25, 50, 75, 100 million. If someone makes $1 billion, they're not going to stop the game because stopping the game stops lifetime value. And you see that same structure across so many different modalities. Think about the belt system for karate, going from a white belt to a black belt. You have to collect all the belts along that journey. Each one represents some degree of achievement, but they've defined success towards a black belt. A lot of businesses don't do a good job of it.
No, yeah, you see a lot of the good businesses do that, and that's that. I don't know if you've seen much of that school platform that Alex Hormozy kind of part owns and promotes, but they're quite big on that, aren't they? You kind of win a day with him, and you get points for certain things, and
Yeah.
that's the way that they kind of push that, and it seems to be effective.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, everyone's doing more of the same. It's just providing a new opportunity or something different. And then if you think about games and gaming tactics, if you ever played video games, as a child of the 80s and growing up in the 80s, I was born in 1984. When Nintendo came out, I can't tell you how much of what we've done have been influenced by Mario Brothers 3. Like, that was as a child. I loved that game, but just the nuance in terms of how they're guiding you through the experience to get you to the end. There's a lot of inspiration that you can then take that and say, how can I apply some of these concepts to my business?
Yeah, that's good advice as well, actually, because these things like games and like social media and stuff like that, they are designed to keep us hooked and keep us on there or keep us coming back. So there's a lot we can learn from these kind of things, but the things that we see every day or we've experienced throughout our lives that we don't really pay attention to and necessarily put it into that business context, right?
That's it.
Yeah, and from my experience, obviously it's just anecdotal. I don't know, don't have any kind of data to back it up. But a lot of small business owners, at least, they're really good at what they do. They go into business, but then the marketing side of it and the kind of getting customers bit is a bit that is completely alien to them, and they really struggle with it.
Yeah, yeah. And it's I see that all the time because and beyond small businesses, but I just see people who are exceptional at what they do. But if you don't nail that marketing and visibility game, it doesn't matter how great your product is. And this is kind of where I'm like, the person that's the loudest typically wins the game. And then you get to see the quality of their product and you're just like, like, this is not even a good product. And the dichotomy between, this is why I love the framework: acquisition, delivery, retention. Some people are really good at acquisition, but they forget, when I capture that customer, you have to deliver to them. And I've seen time and time again, people so good at acquiring, but they're not great at delivering the products and services. And this is kind of where at one point I was seeing this like rise of the fake guru. I don't think people go out there with the intentionality of being a fake guru, but I do think that they have like selling and getting the sales language down has become so commoditized now with a lot of the sales funnels and the tactics that people are putting out there that they forget, for me, delivery is hard. But if you can excel at delivery, it's game over because you can acquire and deliver upon the promise at the quality that, for me, I have a high standard in terms of how we serve. Delivery is the game we play. We are exceptional. If you work with us and there's not a box experience at the end of our process, that's a problem. But that's because we are good at delivery. Could we be better at acquisition? Oh yeah. And that's a big focus of ours, is how do we get the message out there? Because that's my biggest struggle, which is, hey, Aaron, if I looked at you and said you need a box experience, you're not going to know what that means because we've kind of created this modality.
Yeah, that kind of makes it difficult, I suppose, because you need that. Because I wouldn't have a clue, like you said, I wouldn't have a clue if you said that to me. And then you need to get to the point where I, A, understand what that is, and B, then want to take part in that, right?
Totally. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose podcast is not a bad way to go because it gives you some time where people can kind of get to know you, get to know what you're all about, and kind of learn about that stuff. I don't know. Are you finding it effective using podcasts?
Podcasts are great. We had a client that did a book launch, and part of his strategy to get on podcast or start to connect differently was that he actually sent out boxes to those that he was getting on podcast on. So as a strategy to be a point of differentiation, the amount of people that have reached out to me to say, I've never seen this before, or the amount of podcasts that I've been on that someone reached for the box and said, I got this in the mail. Is this something like kind of like what you do? And I'm like, that we did that. It's fun, and for me, it's like I was on the marketer's cruise last week and literally was in a conversation with someone who told me, she's like, we hired this company to do these boxes for us. And she's like, and I had this vision in my head of this box experience that had a journey map and a getting started guide and these envelopes that you rip open as you get to certain points of the process. And she was like, that's what I really wanted. And she started describing this experience that she went through 3 years ago. And, I was like, who is this? And it was this box right here. It was one of our boxes. So it was just kind of fun to be out in the wild and see that. But she didn't have the vernacular, or it wasn't, she didn't know it was our company who did it, except it was happenstance that we just both happened to be on the cruise ship at the same time. And so like the live events have been great for us. Podcasting is wonderful. But I mean, that just scratches the surface. I mean, our biggest thing now is, we're launching these two products, 57 Hats and Activate Deck. 57 Hats is about, as a business owner, do you know how many hats you wear in your business or how many hats your team wears? Because that's the first step of getting out of the day-to-day and start working on your business. Activate Deck is, do you have a vernacular around your customer acquisition strategy? And it's a system that helps you lay out how are you acquiring. But we're using boxes to convey this concept similar to how a book may convey a concept. It's just a lot more kinesthetic, a lot more touch and interactive.
Yeah, and it stands out, right? And especially now in a kind of modern society where everything is just getting hammered at us digitally, right? We're just getting constantly on our phones and stuff, and then having something different like that. Because I know whenever I order something like a new bit of kit or whatever, just having something through the door, it gives you that feeling, right? Something to open, not 100% sure, what it's going to be like. That kind of feeling is just, it's a good feeling, and it can really draw you to a company to be kind of more interested in what else they do.
That's it. And I mean, that's one of the biggest things that we're seeing now is that AI, in this age of AI that we started to live in the last 2 years, to see how it's truly redefined the game. We were, prior to AI exploding the way it has, like over 1 billion pieces of data were being released on the internet every single day. Now that's on an exponential. And so what you're seeing is this rise of digital distrust. And the power of blending digital with physical is you can start to rebuild that trust in a way that really feels like a new opportunity. It's a modality that allows you to stand out in this sea of AI that we're living in right now. And it's just going to get louder.
Yeah, and it's like we were saying before about, the people being really good at acquisition, really salesy, and then not delivering. I've experienced that, like mostly like with online education and stuff. And I'm sure they're doing their best to deliver the product, but the product is crap. They're just really good at acquisition and they get you through the door, and then you're like, oh. But when you're getting something physical through as well and stuff, I don't know, there's a different feeling to that. There's something, because when you get something physical, there's been an expense, there's been some effort and stuff put into that. Whereas when you're watching somebody's videos online, it's not, you don't necessarily always get that feeling that they've put a lot of time and effort in.
Yeah. And the way we frame it too is when you think about this idea of what is experience and how do you define experience. And I always say experience is seen through the senses, sense of sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. When we're dealing with a digital only product, digital only products only tap into what you see and what you hear. So like scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, watching a YouTube video, listening to a podcast, it only taps into two of the senses. Power of physical. If I complement physical and digital together, now I can activate touch, taste, smell, in addition to what you see and hear. So just by introducing a new sense, it activates it activates the experience in a different capacity. Imagine going to Disney World or Las Vegas. Like they know how to stimulate everything. Going to a live event is a very different experience than watching it virtually. And so that's kind of where the power of blending in those senses that we don't tap into really truly offer this new opportunity in terms of how you can show up and serve your people.
Yeah, and I think, Disney's a great example, right? 'Cause essentially they're just theme parks, aren't they? So, you spend a lot of time in queues and waiting around, but they make that queue part of the experience, and then they kind of, it's all part of the show, and the whole thing is a show. And that's how they get you, because they make the entire thing an experience.
I mean, I was literally 2 weeks ago at Universal Studios. I don't know if you've ever been to Universal Studios, but they
No,
have
not yet.
they have this like whole Harry Potter land, and they have this like Quidditch ride that you can like you're playing Quidditch, but you walk through the Hogwarts castle. And I think the experience of waiting in line, so the whole walking through Hogwarts castle is you waiting in line, how they've added that entertainment and engagement as opposed to when I was a kid going to Six Flags and you're just literally in a queue just waiting to get to the front of the line. I thought it was more entertaining going through and seeing the interactions and like what they had created in that experience than actually the ride itself. So it's just amazing to see how Disney gets the power of experience better than anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is key. And I think that's somewhere, again, it's just for anecdotal and from my experience, that a lot of business owners kind of fail to see. They think, oh, I've just got, this is what I do, I just do this. But actually, the whole interaction with your business is an experience for that customer that they're going to, take things from, remember things. There's ways that you can make the mundane a bit more interesting and keep them on the hook, really.
Yeah, totally. 100%.
Yeah, it's so I did do a little bit of research, and I can't remember where I got the stat from, and I didn't write it down, so that's a bit of an issue. But it said essentially 65% of brands that kind of introduced experiential campaigns, so potentially boxes like that, but stuff, anything where they're creating an experience around what they do, see an increase in sales. So it obviously translates.
I like that statistic. I was going to say, I want to know where that statistic is. So I'm going to find that statistic. And sales, I mean, and I can tell you just from the things that we've tested, we've had many people that we've seen double the conversion on the front end, whether it's a virtual event, whether it's a challenge, whether it's a product sales. We've seen people double their back end conversions, introducing something physical in terms of people having a refund window in the first 15 to 30 days of buying a new product. We've had clients see numbers plummet to like the 0.01%. We had a client that did a launch for a $2,000 product, and she sold 3,500 units. The one rule that she set was, hey, we're happy to give you a refund. All you need to do is just ship us back your box. And it's similar to like if you buy something on Amazon or at the store, if you buy a piece of clothing that you take home and decide I don't want it, as long as you're in that refund period, you can take it back. It's the same principle. In her model, she had 19 people of 3,500 request a refund. So in terms of what you see as like national refund rates, it is a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent. And the only thing that changed was really physical, adding something physical to it. But it's just seeing what we see. It's a powerful thing. And especially if you're leveraging the strategy as an acquisition strategy, it's like a new form way of thinking about, I can spend money on paid traffic or I can leverage direct mail as another channel to start to get in front of my customers and build a relationship with them. It's just different.
Yeah, I think multi-channel is important as well, right? You have all these different touch points in different areas in different ways. I'm not saying digital is bad. Obviously, digital is at the forefront at the minute as well with reaching people in the first place. But then if you can build on that with these kind of physical things and other touch points in other areas, and ultimately what we're trying to do anyway, whether it's digital or elsewhere, is kind of take them from whatever platform we've reached out to them on to to get that direct contact, right? So to get that ability that we can just connect with them directly without anybody in the middle, really.
Yeah. And the other thing I like to say is, like, I actually the importance of staying relevant on a digital channel. I can't tell you how many products I've bought that I don't even know what the login is. Things that I've spent thousands of dollars on that I couldn't even tell you how to access them or log into them. And they're probably not maintained at the same. So it's just like that lifespan typically is a lot shorter. When I mail you something, how we think about designing the experience is, what is it that you already naturally save? Because typically I know when you read a book, you don't throw out a book, you put it on a bookshelf. And so you'll see a lot of our boxes that we design are a little bit bigger than a book. We'll brand the spine. And you can see these from some of the examples that are all behind me, is that we like that smaller size because there's a lot that I can pack into it in the experience, but I can also brand the spine and tell you to put it on a bookshelf as something that you can come back and reference. Same thing with board games. You don't play Monopoly and throw it out. You don't play with a basketball, and after you're done playing with the basketball, throw it out, or golf clubs, or CDs, or records, you name it. There are things that we save. How do I engineer that? Because I truly do want to take up real estate in your house and be relevant. And I want to provide you with the education and the training to say, hey, you know how you can read a book or listen to a song or watch a movie once, and then 6 months later, watch the movie again, and it's a whole nother experience. The same thing happens in terms of how you may engineer your products and services. A lot of people aren't talking about the repeatability of going through the experience again. If I can design something in a way that you can do it now and you can do it again in 6 months, and it's a whole different series of values and impact that it may have on you, it's just a different way to stay relevant, and position yourself as that trusted mentor, which is a lot of the goal that I, with my clients, is like, how do I position myself as their trusted mentor? So when they're done with this, they're asking the question, what's next?
Yeah, I think with stuff like that as well, I like the whole make it like similar size to a book and stuff like that. And I think anything that kind of is maybe either traditionally along those lines that you can store, or maybe even something that's a little bit quirky, a little bit different, that people think, oh, that looks good in itself. That talking about the packaging itself now, not without what's contained within, then people are more likely to kind of keep it and then more likely to refer back to it and stuff like that.
Totally. I mean, even with this product right here, 57 hats, a lot of people love that Apple iPhone suction that happens when you open the iPhone case. And so to replicate something like that, the cool thing about this is a lot of the packaging modalities, like the cost is the same. It's just how they shape the box. And so you can shape your packaging any which way. If you see it out in public, you probably can get the mold custom made so you can have that style of packaging, and doesn't necessarily have to break the bank.
Yeah, and if you can tie into them kind of things, because like the Apple one's quite interesting because everybody will kind of relate to that. Everybody who's had an iPhone or an Apple product will kind of relate to that, and they will immediately associate that with like a high end product, really.
That's it. And again, feels like a new opportunity. And I would say in the packaging game, what's easy now? A display mailer. Display mailers are, boxes like that are one piece that you open up to the back and it opens up. This one piece box is probably the most common box you could see, and it's easy to go online. There's endless amounts of package partners that do it. Where I get excited is I love the display mailer. It's a great convenient box. It's a great way to display and showcase. But, having different units of different shapes and sizes allows me to play a little bit differently in terms of this. And this is just like a 2-lid box. That's more that lid and base that's there. That packaging makes it stand out differently than what everyone else is doing, or what I typically see people produce in the online space.
Yeah. the different things are the things that you're going to remember as well. If you just get a bog standard kind of box, you're not going to pay any attention to it. Whereas if the box is slightly different, like we said, even like the Apple thing, or if they are just slightly different, a bit quirkier to what you normally get through, it kind of immediately grabs your interest a bit more.
100%. And the other thing that we're starting to play with that excites me is how do you infuse this idea of Easter eggs into packaging as well? Because if I can create an experience that is just one way, but there's an element that's hidden, maybe a false bottom in the box, maybe there's just a hidden panel in some capacities that you leverage with QR codes, however you do it, the way to infuse, maybe you embed it. Oh my God, I'm going to say it. NRF. Is it NRF tag? Oh my gosh.
Do you mean like a NFP?
NFP, that like your phone touches it and activates. There's all different ways to leverage it. Is that what it is? I always say NFT, and
It
NFTs
might be
are the
NFT because
graphical images, the whole like gorilla thing, and it's not that. It's um, the technology that's used kind of when your phones bump together to exchange contact information. If you can embed that technology into a box, then all of a sudden there's all these hidden things that you can start to unlock and do that makes it interesting.
Yeah. I'm not 100% what they call it, to be fair. We're showing our age a bit here, Mark, aren't we?
Yeah, I think it's NRF, but I could be wrong. Anyway.
Yeah. Stuff like that, though, makes a huge difference as well. And if, like you say, if you can have that crossover, like from the physical to the digital, and kind of merge it all as one, I think that's massive, really.
That's why I love QR codes too, is that I think that the day and age in terms of, I mean, COVID in the restaurant industry taught us like how to use QR codes in a more mainstream way. But this idea of leveraging a QR code instead of a way to access the menu in the restaurant, but a way that I can send you a QR code that can beam information and leveraging the dynamic nature of it. There's so much that you can do. One of the things that we've started to test too with that is like, I could take a water bottle, put a QR code on it, and say, if you scan it on Monday, you may have the Monday workout if you're in the workout space, but if you scan it on Tuesday, it's the Tuesday workout. And so. So having this one code constantly change and evolve. And by doing that, you have this living product that I think is really interesting. That's always evolving. And when I think about people keeping things, if I create something that has a code that's constantly changing, are you more or less likely to save it? And I think when it's living and evolving and you're constantly giving people information that serves them, I think it's interesting as a modality that you'd want to keep.
Yeah, and it creates a level of curiosity as well, which is big for people as well. The amount of crap I watch on TikTok because I'm curious, and I know it's awful, but you get these videos and it's like part 1 of 3, and I'm watching them all, and it's all rubbish, and I'm just waiting for the end, and it's all because of that curiosity.
It's don't even get me started. I get so trapped in those, and then it starts recommending videos, and I'm like, is this really what it thinks I want to watch? And I watch it, and I'm like, and then it gives me more of it, and I'm like, oh, why am I getting these videos? They're disgusting, and they keep sending it to me. I have no idea that like this guy is gonna like this.
They're so good, aren't they?
Capture attention and feed you more of what they know you watch. It's brilliant.
Yeah, they definitely know what they're doing. When it comes to exponential marketing, what kind of role do you think AI is going to play then in the future? Because obviously that's coming big now, and there might be ways to kind of tie that into it as well.
Yeah, I one of the things that I experience and like we're going to start testing is personalization. I think is going to be huge. So imagine getting a product or getting a box experience or something that truly, as you navigate it, it's not one fits all. It's one fits you, and you could take data points and insights it may capture from you. And as you're like, imagine going through a course that is truly understands who you are and things that like would how to resonate with you, and it's constantly customizing the information and calling you out by name. And I went to South by Southwest and saw this firsthand. That I went through this experience. South by Southwest is a festival that takes place in Austin, Texas. You have countries, you have companies, big names, everyone comes down to Austin, and it's about a 10-day massive celebration of innovation, film, and music. I always go for that interactive innovation part of it. But the experience I went through, literally, I signed up for it, and then I had to go into this phone booth, and they were teaching how to use AI using a probably Mid-Journey and a prompt to create an image, and then they mailed you the image on a shirt. So it was a whole experience. But what I was so shocked on was when I got into the booth, the AI voice that was talking to me called me out by name. So it knew when I entered my 4-digit code, it constantly said, "Hi, Mark," and was just talking to me and calling me by name. And it just felt so much more human. And so I think elements like that is where we're going to start seeing this radical, eerie personalization that happens in terms of the messaging. And again, I love the blending of physical and digital. And if I can reunite those worlds, it is a massive point of differentiation. It's totally a new opportunity for your people. But I think that we're going to start seeing that. And then the scalability of it in a way that we just can't do when you're seeing all these AI workforces pop up. That's where it's going to get really interesting in terms of how I'm in Perry Belcher's mastermind. It's a mastermind called Driven. But Perry talks about this idea that it's a matter of time before we have a one-man business that is doing over $1 billion in revenue. And it's in order to do that, they have to leverage a massive AI workforce to bring it to life. So that's where I think things are getting creepy and interesting. And the workforce and the role of human in the workforce is radically getting disrupted.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of change, and it's quite surprising, really, how quick things do change, right? You look back kind of 20, 30 years and how far technology has come, and it's still just powering on. God knows what it'll be like in another 20, 30 years.
I mean, I just think about back when I was in like elementary and middle and high school. We didn't have that. You actually had to go to the library and textbooks and research and come up with a paper. Or like we just got the internet and was like had that as a tool, but there was suspect about not trusting everything on the internet. And now, if you had to read Huckleberry Finn and answer a couple of questions, you literally can go into ChatGPT and ask it. And you're seeing students who are showing up in the room smarter than their teachers, which is building this distrust because they know how to navigate the game in a way that buys back their time, and a legacy system that is getting radically disrupted right now too. So it's just fascinating to see how it all plays out. I just can't imagine being in middle or high school today with the technology that we have. Even my nephew in Alabama, when he was like 5, had an iPad that they worked from. Like I didn't have an iPad until I think I was in grad school, and that was a big deal, getting an iPad.
Yeah, it is amazing how it changes. The thing you're saying about kind of AI, and it's true, right? You can just go and, if you had to do a book review, you could kind of just get AI to do it for you, essentially. Bring a lot of the info for you, at least. I mean, I find I use ChatGPT as a search engine a lot now to kind of, search for stuff that I want, or like specific kind of statistics and stuff like that. It saves me trolling through the internet. How do you think it affects kind of creativity, though, moving forward? Because if people kind of rely on that to come up with all the info all the time, do you think that's going to have a negative effect on kind of people's creativity and what they bring to the table in that sense?
I think it's a great question. And I think if you are wired the right way, I think it's an accelerator for creativity. And I say that as someone who, like, if you could see behind me, like, design is such a big part of what we do. AI is not at the point yet to replace what my team of designers can do and create. But we have leveraged it to accelerate elements that complement the vision that we hold. It's only a matter of time before I can say, I need you to create this on a box die line, because when you do print, creating things on print with physical is a whole different modality than creating something that lives digitally. And so that's kind of where like we feel pretty safe and well positioned where we are. But as a element of creativity, for me, there's been times that it's helped me see things and get even more creative by just seeing some of the prompts or some of the responses, or if it's something that's digital, even seeing how it starts to interpret some of the thoughts that I've had. So I've leveraged it in a way of saying, I'm 80 to 90% clear on what this vision is. Could I start brainstorming with AI to get me back to 100% and say, yep, that's the vision. That's where I want. And then bring that to life with my team. So that's kind of where it's just, I think it's a brilliant tool. I don't think it's going to replace right now, today, as is, the nuance that, we deal with physical design and the layout of information.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying about vision is important, right? I think that's the key. if you have a vision, you know your vision, then it's a great tool to assist you in kind of bringing that to life and creating that. But I think if you are relying on ChatGPT to come up with the ideas for you and create the vision, then I think it's going to be a bit more. It's going to lose something.
And I'll tell you, one of the products that we're about to launch, we've had a lot of clients come to us and say, when you go through our formal process to do a box build, I mean, you go through a virtual strategy session so we can understand the scope of your business. You'll do an all-day workshop. Oftentimes people fly to Austin and come to our offices, and you can see endless amounts of examples of our work, but then you spend the day breaking down the entire vision, and then we go into the design process. Like all of that, as it is right now, I can't see AI replacing that function. It may add to the acceleration of what we're able to come up with and create. But that's for me. There's just certain pieces that, it's not there yet, but I think it's a matter of time between how we start to leverage that to enhance. That's just going to get more interesting.
Yeah. And like I say, we don't know what it'll be capable of in kind of 10 years time. It might, accelerate and it might be a completely different beast by then. But I mean, even now, it's such a powerful tool, and as long as we use it as a tool and not as a replacement for that kind of human thought and creativity and all them other pieces, because I don't know about you, but my brain is definitely not wired right. So I come up with wild ideas that I can kind of then use ChatGPT to kind of explore and help kind of bring to life, really.
Yeah. 100% though. Yeah. It's fun to watch though.
Yeah, and I find it quite interesting. I like playing around with it and kind of figuring it, trying to. But we'll see. I do worry a lot of people rely on it too heavily, but I mean, like I say, it's still early in it, and people are still getting used to it as well. So
Awesome. Yeah.
But moving forward, then, Mark. So, have you made any kind of major mistakes with your business?
Oh, have I? Oh my gosh. I came from corporate. And so I lived and breathed the corporate realm for years. And so I was super wired corporate. So when I made the decision that I wanted to start a business, I always saw myself as a high performer in corporate. I got my MBA at Duke. I worked for Deloitte Consulting for many, many years. And switching from corporate to the online entrepreneur space, I think the biggest mistake I made initially was I had a corporate lens on how I approached growing my own business. And it finally got me down to the point that I had to realize, the example I always use is like entrepreneurship versus corporate is like checkers versus chess. The game board looks the same. You truly play checkers and chess on the same game board. The rules are completely different. And so I had to learn really fast that once I had that breakthrough, I had to give myself permission to learn how to play the game of entrepreneurship. But everything you learn in corporate becomes your competitive edge. So that was like a big thing because I tried to grow a business and start a business and would fall flat on my face. And the other piece of this is corporate, the world I came from, prides you in being the world's best generalist. When I was at Deloitte, they wanted you to be great at everything. Entrepreneurship does not celebrate being the best generalist. They want you to be known for something. And so I had two separate businesses that I was growing, one in the virtual event space, and then now introducing this custom box business. And they were both doing, low six figures. So they're both doing okay. But it took my mentor looking at me going, I've asked a bunch of people who is Mark Stern, and half of them said, you're the virtual event guy. The other half said, you're the custom box guy. So like you're splitting who you are to the market. Which one are you? And at the beginning of COVID, when you would think it makes sense to go all in on virtual events, there was something that pulled me towards these boxes as a new opportunity that excited me. And so I killed this business I'd built for years and went all in on the box business. And it took off. It was just amazing how just niching down and being known for something. And the other belief that I hold is that I want good people to win. If I want good people to win, then the law of reciprocity states that other people want me to win, and we have to hold that belief as a business owner. And so with that, how do I make it easy for other people to help me win? Well, the more easy I can help them communicate what it is that I do, the more that they can talk about me to other people. So that niching down and being focused on one thing, when someone says who does boxes or builds these box experiences, you see a bunch of people go instantly, you need to reach out to Custom Box Agency and Mark Stern because I made it easy for them. So those are all some things that I've learned along the way. There's a lot of growing pains when growing the business from a 6 to 7 figure to a multi 7 figure business that you learn because you have to reinvent the business at certain junctions. But the wiring and the mindset around it, mindset's that thing that we all need that a lot of people don't want to pay for. And I say that in the sense of my head was not wired correctly as I started this game, and it took someone else calling it out. But when I wired my brain in the right capacity, you get to a point that your business grows arms and legs and you can't control it all. And so at the end of the day, this is where I see great entrepreneurs and great business owners crash and burn because they can't rewire their beliefs and their mindset around their business and relinquish control in the way that allows the business to grow and become what it could, if that is something that you want, if you want to grow your business, you know. And so I've had to learn how to grow a team and hold a belief that not everything I do in my business is reliant on me, that other people can learn what I do and do it as well as I can. Um, Even though it may sound easier than it actually is, but I have to hold that belief. And those things have really helped us start to grow the business.
Yeah, that's a big thing, right? Because if, as a business owner, you can be that roadblock to prevent growth because you feel like you have to control everything, and you know there's only so much you can manage, right? As a business owner, if you want to grow beyond a certain point, you have to have that element of trust and bring people in and kind of train them. And I think the difficulty is when you bring people in, they might not necessarily do things the way you would do it, but it doesn't make it wrong. If it's effective, then that's the goal, right?
You know, it's interesting. Someone asked me if someone could do 70% of what you do, would you be happy with that? And the reality is, you know, I have to be happy with that. And if I can get it to 80 or 90, even 100%, or find the people that can do it better than me, wonderful. But when we talk about scale, like there's a heart of what we do that is important, that is a bare minimum to say, if I'm going to put my name on something, there's a quality I want to guarantee my clientele. We are above and beyond that with the team. And I mean, I'm not even involved in the day to day, but it took me rewiring my brain to saying they can produce it and they can produce something better than what I would be able to do. And that's where I get surprised as I see what the team puts together. And had I stayed in the same mindset I had at the beginning of the business, man, I look at some of the things they produce and think, I have no idea how they thought of this and shaping the story in this capacity, but this is far better than, you know, and part of that's just giving them permission to step into their genius too.
Yeah, and I think that ultimately is the goal, and that's what the best businesses do, right? They bring in people who can actually do it better than them. You know, and if you can do that, then you're laughing. You're well on your way.
Yeah. So it's a game. Growing a business is such a game. And so as a game, you know, Mario Brothers, I used to play Mario Brothers 1. I played all the Mario Brothers on original Nintendo, but you know, when you die, you restart and you keep going until you master it and get it right. I mean, that simple element, I can't even tell you with the business itself, is that, you know, you may not get it right the first time. You start to transition it off, but as you finesse and build the systems and the SOPs, your team gets sharper and stronger and stronger. And before you know it, you're just like, how do we get here? This is incredible.
Yeah, I think people kind of, not everybody, but a lot of people kind of rush it, don't they, and think, oh, they want to achieve it all really in a real short space of time. When really, if you just take a step back and look at, you know, be patient and work at it, them sort of small marginal gains over time can have a massive impact, and you kind of, your business can be like unrecognizable when you actually reach, you know, 2-3 years down the line potentially.
So true. I mean, that is absolutely true. So, firsthand experience, though. And I've seen people on my team who started as almost like a virtual assistant role. And I could see their genius and I could see their strengths, but they didn't hold that belief in themselves. And some of those people are high up managers or leaders on the team right now, but they never imagined that they would be where they were. And I didn't imagine I'd be where I am with this business, you know, and I never knew when I started this business, what to expect from it. But that's what's been so beautiful, is to see how far I've grown, but also how far other members of my team have grown as well.
Yeah, that transition from corporate to your own business, did you do that kind of gradually, or did you just kind of jump all in?
I would have loved to have done it gradually. It was like burn the ships. The reason for it was, if you know the lifestyle of someone who does corporate consulting for like a big consulting firm, um, I would fly weekly. So at 4:45 a.m. every Monday, a cab would pick me up, take me to the airport, and I'd fly to my client. And I'd either be back Thursday night or Friday morning, just enough time to wash your clothes, put them back in your suitcase, and do it again. When you have that lifestyle, you literally are in meetings all day, working at night or in the morning. And so you have no quality of life. The quality of life is terrible when you're that road warrior with where I came from. And so this idea of starting a business was always something I wanted to do. I didn't have the mental capacity to do it. And it all came to a head. This was, I mean, I know the date. It was December 27th of 2017. It was the first time in the year that my brain could really slow down, because it was like the holiday break. And when you're in that lifestyle, it's just go, go, go. And I had this weird premonition, this dream in the middle of the night that was, if you stay in this job, it will kill you. And this was at a time that I was on the verge of becoming a junior partner at Deloitte. I would have had my title changed in a matter of months. And you just know it's going to happen because of your rating and the number of years you've been there. So it was all about to happen. And I didn't want to see my title change after that. So I literally came back, and it was January 3rd. I had to be in Dallas, and I sat down with the partner I reported to and told him, I will stay as long as you need me, but I have to go. And put in the notice January 3rd of 2018, and stayed until May, until that, because it's just hard to replace people when you're that intensely involved in that world. But I wanted to leave on a good note, and I had nowhere else to go. And, when I made that transition, I beat myself up initially, because like, as a new entrepreneur, because I'm like, why am I not doing more? Why am I not working harder? Why am I not farther along? And I hadn't given myself permission to learn how to play a new game and detox corporate out of me. But I had no idea what it was I was going to do. I just knew when I left corporate, it would free up the mental capacity to get creative again, and then figure out. And, as a backup, I could always go back into corporate. So I just had to accept, this could be challenging, but the reward far outweighs the risk, and so I wouldn't change. I'm proud of when I did it, and it was the right time to do it. And then 2 years later, we're in quarantine for COVID. So it was a nice little runway before going into a whole new world.
Yeah, and thinking about it as well, that people always say, don't they regret the things you don't do rather than things you do. And like you say, you could have always gone back into that world and got your job back, or got a similar job at least. But you might have been kicking yourself if you never actually gave it a go.
Yeah, I wonder that too. Because I'm like, what would my life look like? But man, the craziest thing is, I've always wanted a dog, and it was in 2017, early 2017, that I landed on, I want a Welsh Corgi. I don't know why. I wanted like a medium-sized dog that would be great indoors, that would be a good companion and smart. And it fit the bill, and found a breeder in Texas and reached out and just said, hey, I'm coming to you in sometime in 2018. I don't know what made me do this, but I paid her for this dog that did not exist. And she was like, what do you want? And I told her a black-headed female tricolored corgi. I don't know why it was that specific. And I was like, I want her to be a little girl. And the day I put in my notice at Deloitte, February 3rd, 2018, I was driving home from Dallas to Austin thinking, was that the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life? Like, giving up the 6-figure salary, giving up security. I still had all the student loan debt from business school, and was beating myself up, and went to dinner. My friend who I was to meet at dinner was running late, and I opened up my news feed, and at the top of the news feed, the woman posted, I have available this black-headed female tricolored corgi, this little girl. And I messaged her instantly and was just like, that's my dog. And so it's kind of funny just how the universe is almost like, am I crazy for doing this? Like, send me a sign. And that was one of the best signs I could have ever received. And that stuff, I was like, I truly cannot make that up, because it's too coincidental. But I mean, there's something, I don't know if it's divine or if it's just, a gift from the universe or whatever you think it is. Because I would never have considered myself woo. I'm very literal because that's the world I came from, but I can't explain moments like that are like, how did this gift that is the greatest asset that I own come into my life the day that I made it one of the biggest decisions of my life?
Yeah, it's quite interesting when stuff like that happens, isn't it? And it's, there's so many, I mean, unexplained things that happen in the world. I don't know. Um, I do find, or it seems to be the way, and I don't know if it's a mentality thing, or maybe just appreciate it and notice it more. But when you're kind of following your own path and doing your own thing, that thing that feels right to you, rather than kind of jump into other people's tune and doing a job that probably is getting you down a bit and stressing you out and causing all these issues, and things do kind of seem to fall into place a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah.
For whatever reason.
And I'll say this, like, it's fun to wake up and just like, I love my business. I love my team. I mean, so like, I probably work just as hard as I did at Deloitte, but it's under a different guise. It's nice to do it under a domain that for me is just having lots of fun.
Yeah, and I think just mentally it's from a different place in it, when it's something that is your vision, something you want to do, is something you're pursuing, rather than kind of fulfilling goals for other people, really.
Yeah. It's my little baby.
Yeah. I love it. It's brilliant that you are doing it and that you're doing so well at it. Mark, where can people kind of find out a bit more about you and about your business if they wanted to kind of get in touch or just learn a little bit more?
I always tell people you're welcome to reach out to me on Facebook or LinkedIn. Those are great places to find me at. Agency.com is our website. You can easily go there and connect with me or a member of our team just to explore. We offer a free consultation just because we love to learn what people are doing. And if we could be a part of your journey, we love that strategy of how to take your business to the next level. So those are probably the easiest places to go to find me.
Cool. I'll try and drop the couple of links into the show notes and make it a bit easier for people to find you and stuff anyway. Before we do kind of bring this episode to a close, do you have any kind of final thoughts or messages that you'd like to share with people?
Yeah, the biggest thing is, especially if you're going down this journey, if you're thinking about leaving corporate, going to entrepreneurship, if you are thinking of starting a business, I see a lot of people lock themselves into a room and create a product and then throw it out there and then question, why is this not working? And I think this game is so much more fun when you play it with other people. And so this is why I like the power of finding communities, joining masterminds, building peer networks, even if it's peer masterminds, but to be able to play this game with other people and not rely on you. It takes so much stress off your shoulders as a business owner. Because I find that when I try to create by myself, I can create some pretty good stuff. But when I start to co-create with other people, one, it's more fun. Two, the product becomes so much better because we have a lot more insights and modalities that are tapping into it. And so that's what I would just say is that if you find yourself frustrated or angry or whatnot, especially if you're playing this game alone, don't play it alone. Find other people that, join, get on podcast, build your network. But that part of this game is you'll see that there's a lot more people like you, and it's so much easier to win together.
Yeah, that's great advice, because it can be a lonely, lonely place if you're doing it by yourself as well, right? Because you spend a lot of time kind of locked in doing stuff, and if you've got nobody to bounce ideas off of or to talk to, and I think it's just human to want to kind of share stuff with people, with other people, share experiences, to kind of just makes us feel better, I think.
100%. 100%. I mean, we wouldn't be where we are today if I kept it all to myself. But it's been such a fun journey so far. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Mark, when's the next run? When's the next Spartan race?
Debating. I think there's a Houston one. I've never done Houston, and here in Texas, I've done Dallas many times. I've done Austin. So I may be doing that for sure. Austin in May, and I did Hawaii last year. That was over for my birthday, my 40th. I spent in Hawaii to do the Spartan race, just because
Nice.
it'd been a couple of years since I'd been, and it was like a celebration of getting back into it. But what's fun about that one is that's where they filmed like Jurassic Park and Lost and Hawaii 5-0. So it was fun running it, thinking about like, oh yeah, all the dinosaurs, or like the fog monster and Lost and all that stuff. So those are probably, 3 on my list again this year, Houston being a new one.
Nice. What training do you do for it? What you just run, or you just hit the gym and do a bit of like a mixture?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I hit the gym 3 days a week, and there's a whole protocol that I follow in the gym. And then I like to run on the off days. And so if I'm not going to the gym, usually you'll see me at the gym. It's very regimented. It's Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. On the off days, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, I typically run. Saturdays, I take off. And so that's pretty much been the training that I've done. And honestly, that's plenty of training for the beast. I think most people can roll out of bed and do the sprint pretty easily. Super, if you've not run, you have to get that endurance beast. You probably want to train a little bit more because it's very much endurance.
Yeah, well, I wish you the best of luck with it all anyway, and good luck with your business and your training. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us today.
I appreciate you too, Aaron. So thank you for having me. Really do appreciate it.
Thanks. All the best, Mark. Bye.
Take care.
Thanks again for being part of this journey. Stay tuned. We've got even more great conversations coming your way.